Late one evening in a quiet suburban neighborhood on Earth, something strange and terrifying was about to unfold. High above the planet's atmosphere, an alien scout ship hovered silently, its sleek silver body blending perfectly with the dark, void of space. The crew inside the ship had been sent by their leaders to observe Earth and determine whether it posed any threat to their empire. For centuries, their species had watched humanity from afar, dismissing them as primitive beings who were too divided and chaotic to ever pose a real danger. But tonight everything changed. Zix-7, the alien captain, sat in the command chair of the scout ship, staring at the monitors that displayed images of Earth below. He was a tall, slender creature with translucent green skin and large black eyes that glowed faintly in the dim light of the ship's control room. His thin fingers tapped nervously on the armrest as he scanned the data streaming in from their sensors. So far, everything seemed normal. Humans were busy going about their lives, oblivious to the fact that they were being watched. Zix-7 smirked to himself. These humans were just as weak and insignificant as his superiors had always claimed. But then, something extraordinary happened. As the ship's scanners focused on Earth's atmosphere, the clouds above the planet began to shift unnaturally. At first, it looked like a storm was forming, but this was no ordinary weather phenomenon. The clouds parted slowly, revealing massive shapes lurking behind them, shapes so enormous they blocked out the stars. Zix-7 froze, his glowing eyes widening in shock. These weren't natural formations or human-made structures. They were spacecraft, but unlike anything he had ever seen before. Towering ships, each the size of a small city, loomed ominously in the sky. Their metallic surfaces gleamed faintly under the light of the moon, and their designs were both ancient and futuristic, as if they belonged to a civilization that had long since vanished. What is this?" Zix-7 stammered, turning to his second-in-command, Vrax-4, who stood nearby. Vrax-4, a shorter but more muscular alien with deep purple skin, shook his head in disbelief. "I don't know, Captain," he replied, his voice trembling. "Our sensors didn't detect these ships until now. It's like they appeared out of nowhere." Before either of them could process what they were seeing, the largest of the ships, a colossal vessel shaped like a dagger, began to move. Its engines roared to life, sending shockwaves through the atmosphere. The sound was deafening even from their position high above the planet. Zix-7 quickly ordered his crew to record everything they could, hoping to gather enough data to report back to their mothership. But as they frantically worked, a sudden transmission crackled through their communication systems. "Leave now," a calm yet commanding voice said in perfect galactic standard, the universal language used by most advanced civilizations, or face annihilation. The message was short, clear, and left no room for negotiation. Zix-7 felt a chill run down his spine. Whoever or whatever was behind these ships wasn't bluffing. They meant business. Panic spread among the crew. Some of them scrambled to power up the ship's weapons, while others tried desperately to contact their fleet for reinforcements. But before they could take any action, a blinding pulse of energy erupted from the largest ship. It struck the scout ship with pinpoint accuracy, disabling its engines and cutting off all communications. The lights flickered and alarms blared throughout the vessel as it began to drift helplessly in space. "We're dead," whispered one of the crew members, collapsing into her seat. Zix-7 clenched his fists tightly, his mind racing. How could this have happened? Humanity was supposed to be weak, disorganized, and technologically inferior, yet here they were, wielding power that rivaled even the greatest empires in the galaxy. As the alien scout ship floated motionless in the void, Zix-7 stared out at the star destroyers looming above Earth. His heart sank as he realized the truth. Earth was no longer just another target for conquest. It was home to forces far greater than anyone in the universe had anticipated. And worse still, those forces were now aware of their presence. Back on Earth, people gazed up at the night sky in awe and confusion. In cities around the world, crowds gathered in streets and parks, pointing at the mysterious ships that had suddenly appeared. Social media exploded with theories and speculation. Some thought it was a government experiment gone wrong, while others believed it was evidence of extraterrestrial contact. No one knew the full story, not yet, but everyone agreed on one thing. Something big was happening. Meanwhile, tucked away in a quiet corner of the planet, Marcus Johnson sat alone in his dimly lit apartment, watching the news unfold on his old television set. To anyone who passed him on the street, Marcus was just another overweight black man living an unremarkable life. But deep down, he knew better. He had spent years preparing for this moment, waiting patiently for the day when Earth would need him most. And now, as the skies opened up to reveal the Star Destroyers, Marcus felt a familiar sense of purpose wash over him. Without hesitation, he grabbed his phone and dialed a number he hadn't used in years. When the call connected, a gruff voice answered on the other end. "It's time," Marcus said simply, his tone steady and resolute. There was a brief pause before the voice replied. "Understood. We'll be ready." As Marcus hung up the phone, he glanced out his window at the glowing ships in the distance. A small smile crept across his face. The aliens may have thought they were dealing with a weak and divided species, but they were about to learn otherwise. Earth wasn't defenseless, and neither was Marcus Johnson. Marcus Johnson leaned back in his worn-out recliner, staring at the glowing Star Destroyers through his apartment window. His mind raced as he tried to piece together what was happening. The ships hovering above Earth weren't human-made. That much was obvious. Yet they carried an air of familiarity, like something he had seen before but couldn't quite place. To most people, these mysterious vessels were a sign of hope or fear, depending on how they viewed the unknown. But for Marcus, they were a reminder of a past he had worked hard to bury. Years ago, Marcus hadn't been just another face in the crowd. He had been part of a highly classified military unit known only by its code name, Sentinel. This elite team wasn't tasked with protecting borders or fighting wars. It was created to safeguard humanity's future from threats beyond comprehension. Their mission? To study and protect ancient alien artifacts discovered buried deep beneath Antarctica's icy surface. These relics weren't just pieces of scrap metal. They were fragments of technology so advanced they defied logic. Blueprints for weapons capable of leveling entire cities, schematics for spacecraft that could traverse galaxies in seconds, all hidden away under layers of ice, waiting to be uncovered. At first, Marcus had thought it was the opportunity of a lifetime. As a young soldier fresh out of training, he had dreamed of making a difference. But as time went on, he began to realize the true weight of what they were dealing with. The program was shrouded in secrecy, funded by shadowy organizations whose motives were unclear. Some members of Sentinel believed they were doing the right thing, using the alien tech to prepare Earth for potential extraterrestrial threats. Others saw it as a chance to gain power, leveraging the technology for their own agendas. Tensions ran high and trust became a rare commodity within the team. Then came the day everything changed. During one of their expeditions, Marcus and his squad stumbled upon something far more dangerous than any artifact, a live alien entity trapped inside a crystalline chamber. The creature was unlike anything they had ever encountered, its body pulsating with energy and its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. At first they thought it was dead, frozen in time like the rest of the relics. But when they accidentally activated the chamber, the being woke up, and chaos ensued. The alien didn't attack them directly. Instead, it communicated telepathically, flooding their minds with visions of destruction and despair. It showed them glimpses of civilizations wiped out by greed and hubris, planets reduced to ash because their inhabitants couldn't handle the power they had discovered. Marcus felt the weight of those images pressing down on him, a stark reminder of what could happen if humanity misused the very technology they sought to control. When the vision ended, the alien spoke a single word before collapsing into silence. Guardians. That incident marked the beginning of the end for Sentinel. Fearing the implications of what they had found, higher-ups decided to shut down the program entirely. They ordered all research facilities dismantled, all data erased, and all personnel silenced. Most of Marcus's teammates vanished overnight. Some relocated to undisclosed locations while others simply disappeared without a trace. Marcus knew better than to stick around. If there was one thing he had learned during his time with Sentinel, it was that secrets had a way of resurfacing when you least expected them, and when they did, they often brought death with them. So, Marcus made a choice. He faked his death in a staged car accident, leaving behind a burned-out vehicle and enough evidence to convince even the most skeptical investigators. Then, he disappeared, adopting a new identity and settling into obscurity. He chose a quiet life, working odd jobs and keeping to himself. Over time, he gained weight, letting his appearance blend into the background. No one paid attention to a fat black man who seemed content to live a simple, unremarkable existence. And that was exactly how he wanted it. But despite his efforts to move on, Marcus never truly let go of the past. In secret, he kept tabs on old contacts from Sentinel, maintaining loose connections with those he trusted. He also stashed away fragments of information he had managed to smuggle out before the program was dismantled. Blueprints, schematics, and notes scribbled hastily on scraps of paper. He stored them in hidden compartments scattered across the globe, knowing they might come in handy someday. Deep down, he always knew the aliens would return. He just hoped humanity would be ready when they did. Now, as he watched the Star Destroyers hover above Earth, Marcus realized his worst fears had come true. The aliens weren't just observing, they were preparing to strike. And if humanity stood any chance of surviving, they would need every advantage they could get. That meant digging up old secrets and putting them to use, not for personal gain, but for the greater good. With a heavy sigh, Marcus pulled out an old laptop from underneath his bed. Its screen flickered to life, revealing a series of encrypted files. He typed in a password, a string of numbers and letters that corresponded to coordinates buried deep in Antarctica, and waited as the system booted up. One by one, the files began to load, each containing vital pieces of the puzzle. Blueprints for energy shields, designs for plasma cannons, algorithms for faster-than-light travel, all painstakingly preserved over the years. As he sifted through the data, Marcus allowed himself a moment of reflection. He thought about the sacrifices he had made, the friends he had lost, and the life he had left behind. For years he had carried the burden of knowledge alone, knowing that sharing it could put countless lives at risk. But now, the stakes were too high to keep quiet. Humanity needed answers, and Marcus was the only one who could provide them. He picked up his phone again and dialed another number. This time, a woman answered. Her voice was sharp and no nonsense, cutting through the static like a knife. "It's me," Marcus said, skipping pleasantries. "I need your help. We're activating Protocol Echo." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Finally, the woman replied, "Understood. I'll gather the team." Protocol Echo was a contingency plan Marcus had devised years ago, a last-ditch effort to unite humanity against an extraterrestrial threat. It involved reaching out to trusted individuals around the world, scientists, engineers, soldiers, and strategists, who could contribute to building Earth's defenses. Each member of the network had been carefully vetted, sworn to secrecy, and equipped with the resources needed to carry out their roles. Together, they formed a web of resistance spread across continents, ready to spring into action at a moment's notice. Over the next few hours, Marcus coordinated with his contacts, sending encrypted messages and relaying instructions. Factories that had once produced mundane goods were repurposed to manufacture advanced weaponry. Underground bunkers transformed into command centers, staffed by experts working around the clock. Engineers pieced together prototypes based on Marcus's blueprints, testing and refining them until they met his exacting standards. Every step of the process was executed with precision, driven by a shared sense of urgency. As dawn broke over the horizon, Marcus stepped outside his apartment for the first time in days. The streets were eerily quiet, the usual bustle replaced by an atmosphere of tension and anticipation. People huddled in groups, whispering anxiously about the ships in the sky. Some prayed, others argued, but all shared the same question. What happens next? Marcus walked briskly toward a nearby warehouse where a group of engineers awaited his arrival. Inside, the hum of machinery filled the air as workers assembled components for the first wave of Star Destroyers. Seeing the progress firsthand, Marcus felt a flicker of hope. These ships wouldn't just serve as weapons, they would be symbols of humanity's resilience, proof that even the smallest among them could rise to meet the greatest challenges. As he surveyed the scene, one of the engineers approached him. "We're almost done with the first prototype," she said, her voice tinged with pride. "Just a few more tests, and it'll be ready for deployment." Marcus nodded, his expression grim but determined. "Good work," he replied. "We don't have much time. Make sure everyone stays focused." With that, he turned and headed back to his apartment, already planning the next phase of their operation. The aliens may have underestimated humanity, but they were about to learn a harsh lesson. Earth wasn't defenseless, and neither was Marcus Johnson. The days that followed were a blur of activity for Marcus Johnson. Every waking moment was spent coordinating with his network, ensuring that the pieces of humanity's defense plan fell into place. The underground facilities buzzed with energy as engineers and technicians worked tirelessly to assemble the Star Destroyers. These ships weren't just machines, they were symbols of hope, resilience, and defiance. Each one carried the weight of Earth's survival on its massive frame. Marcus knew they had to be ready before the aliens made their next move. Time wasn't on their side. As the final touches were added to the first fleet, Marcus stood in the control room of the largest facility, staring at a holographic display of the completed designs. The ships were breathtaking, towering structures with sleek, angular lines and glowing engines that pulsed like living hearts. Their surfaces shimmered with an iridescent coating, designed to absorb and redirect energy attacks. Armed with plasma cannons, EMP emitters, and shields capable of withstanding even the most devastating assaults, these vessels were unlike anything humanity had ever created. And yet, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling of unease gnawing at him. He had seen what the aliens were capable of, and he knew this fight wouldn't be easy. "Marcus," a voice called out, breaking his train of thought. It was Elena Torres, one of the lead engineers and someone Marcus trusted implicitly. She approached him holding a tablet filled with diagnostic reports. Her dark hair was tied back in a messy bun, and her face bore the exhaustion of countless sleepless nights. "All systems are green," she said, her tone professional but tinged with pride. "We're ready to deploy." Marcus nodded, though his expression remained grim. "Good work, Elena," he replied. "But remember, this is just the beginning. Once we reveal ourselves, there's no turning back." Elena hesitated for a moment, then asked the question everyone had been thinking but no one dared to voice. "Do you think we stand a chance against them?" Marcus met her gaze, his eyes steady and resolute. "We have to," he said simply. "If we don't fight, humanity will be erased. This isn't just about winning, it's about showing the universe that Earth won't go down without a fight." With that, Marcus gave the order. Across the globe, hidden launch sites sprang to life. Massive silos opened, revealing the gleaming hulls of the Star Destroyers within. As countdown timers ticked toward zero, anticipation crackled through the air. People gathered outside, looking up at the skies with a mixture of fear and awe. They didn't fully understand what was happening, but they could feel the significance of the moment. Something big was about to unfold. When the clock hit zero, the Earth trembled as the Star Destroyers roared to life. Their engines ignited with a deafening roar, sending shockwaves rippling through the atmosphere. One by one, the ships ascended into the sky, piercing the clouds and emerging into the vast expanse above. For the first time, humanity's true power was laid bare for the world and the aliens to see. Onlookers gasped in disbelief as the ships appeared, their sheer size dwarfing everything around them. News outlets scrambled to cover the event, broadcasting live footage to billions of viewers worldwide. Social media exploded with reactions ranging from jubilation to terror. Some hailed the ships as Earth's salvation, while others feared they might provoke an even greater retaliation from the invaders. But amidst the chaos, one thing was clear: humanity was no longer helpless. High above the planet, the alien armada watched in stunned silence. Zix-7, still reeling from the earlier encounter with the scout ship, gripped the edge of his command console as the Star Destroyers came into view. His crew exchanged panicked glances, their confidence shaken. These ships were far more advanced than anything they had anticipated. How could humans possess such technology? It defied logic, and yet, there it was, undeniable proof that Earth was not to be underestimated. A transmission crackled through the alien communication system once again. This time, the voice was calm, but carried an unmistakable authority. "This is Commander Marcus Johnson," it began, echoing across frequencies. "To the extraterrestrial forces observing our planet, know this. Earth is under protection. Any hostile action will be met with overwhelming force. Leave now or face annihilation." The message sent shockwaves through the alien ranks. Zix-7 clenched his fists tightly, his mind racing. He had been trained to handle every possible scenario, but nothing in his experience prepared him for this. The humans weren't just defending themselves, they were issuing a challenge. A direct threat from a species they had dismissed as inferior. Before Zix-7 could respond, the Star Destroyers demonstrated their capabilities. One of the smaller alien ships attempted to approach Earth's atmosphere, likely intending to gather more data. Without warning, a beam of searing energy shot out from one of the human vessels, striking the alien craft with pinpoint accuracy. The impact was instantaneous. The alien ship disintegrated in a blinding explosion, leaving behind only debris that drifted aimlessly in space. The alien crew erupted into chaos. Some shouted orders, while others frantically tried to recalibrate their sensors to better understand the humans' weapons. Zix-7 barked commands, trying to maintain control, but even he couldn't hide the fear creeping into his voice. "Retreat," he ordered, realizing they were outmatched. "Signal the mothership, we need reinforcements." But it was too late. The Star Destroyers moved with precision, surrounding the remaining alien ships and cutting off their escape. Routes. Plasma cannons charged, their barrels glowing ominously as they locked onto their targets. The aliens fired back, unleashing salvos of energy blasts, but the human ships shrugged off the attacks thanks to their impenetrable shields. In response, the Star Destroyers unleashed their full arsenal, obliterating several alien vessels in quick succession. Back on Earth, people watched the battle unfold with bated breath. Live satellite feeds captured every moment, showing the Star Destroyers dominating the skies. Crowds cheered as each alien ship was neutralized, their cheers growing louder with every victory. For the first time in history, humanity felt united, not by shared culture or language, but by a common purpose. They were fighting together, standing shoulder to shoulder against a threat that transcended borders and ideologies. In the midst of the chaos, Marcus monitored the situation from the command center. His face was a mask of concentration as he coordinated the fleet's movements, ensuring they maintained the upper hand. Despite the success of the operation, he knew this was only the beginning. The aliens would regroup, bringing reinforcements and more advanced technology. Humanity's newfound strength had bought them time, but it wouldn't last forever. As the final alien ship retreated into hyperspace, Marcus allowed himself a brief moment of reflection. He stepped away from the control panel and walked to a nearby window, gazing up at the Star Destroyers hovering protectively above Earth. The sight filled him with both pride and sorrow. Pride because humanity had proven it could rise to the occasion, and sorrow because he knew the cost of this war would be high. Behind him, Elena approached, her expression a mix of relief and determination. "We did it," she said softly. "For now, at least." Marcus nodded, his voice low but firm. "Don't celebrate yet. This was just a taste of what's coming. We need to prepare for the next wave, and make sure everyone on this planet understands what's at stake." Elena hesitated, then asked the question that had been weighing on her mind. "Do you think we can win, Marcus? Really win?" Marcus turned to face her, his eyes reflecting the weight of the responsibility he carried. "I don't know," he admitted. "But I do know this. If we give up, we've already lost. As long as we keep fighting, there's hope." With that, Marcus returned to the command center. already planning the next phase of their strategy. The aliens may have underestimated humanity once, but they wouldn't make the same mistake twice. Earth had shown its teeth, and Marcus Johnson intended to ensure it stayed that way. Across the globe, people looked to the skies with a newfound sense of pride. The man who had once been dismissed as insignificant, a fat black man living quietly, in obscurity, had become a symbol of strength and resilience. Under his leadership, humanity had taken its first steps toward securing its place among the stars. But Marcus knew the road ahead would be long and fraught with challenges. The fight was far from over, and the stakes had never been higher. The victory over the alien scouts was a turning point, but it wasn't the end of the war. If anything, it marked the beginning of something far greater, a global awakening that would change humanity forever. For the first time in history, Earth's nations set aside their differences and came together under a single banner, the Earth Defense Coalition, EDC. Led by Marcus Johnson, this unprecedented alliance united governments, scientists, soldiers, and civilians in a shared mission to protect their planet. The Star Destroyers had proven humanity's potential, but now it was time to harness that potential fully. In the days following the battle, Marcus found himself thrust into the spotlight. He had always preferred working behind the scenes, letting others take credit while he stayed in the shadows. But with the world watching, there was no room for anonymity anymore. People demanded answers and leadership. Reluctantly, Marcus stepped forward, addressing the world through a series of live broadcasts. Standing before cameras in his simple, unassuming attire, he spoke plainly and directly, cutting through the fear and uncertainty gripping humanity. "We are not alone," Marcus began, his voice steady and commanding despite the weight of the moment. "For centuries we've looked to the stars and wondered if anyone else was out there. Now we know the truth. There are civilizations beyond our own, some friendly, some hostile. Today we faced one of those hostile forces and we showed them what we're made of." His words resonated deeply with people around the globe. Here was a man who had been underestimated his entire life, yet he stood tall when it mattered most. His calm demeanor and unwavering resolve inspired millions. When he added, "But this fight isn't about me. It's about all of us," the message hit home. Humanity realized they couldn't rely on a single hero or a handful of ships to save them. This was their battle, and every person had a role to play. Governments initially resisted the idea of full cooperation. Old rivalries and political agendas threatened to derail the coalition before it even got off the ground. Some leaders tried to claim ownership of the Star Destroyers, arguing that their countries deserved control over such powerful technology. Others accused each other of hoarding resources or withholding critical information. Tensions boiled over. During emergency summits where arguments erupted and tempers flared, it seemed like humanity might tear itself apart before the aliens even returned. Marcus intervened personally, calling an impromptu meeting of world leaders at the United Nations headquarters. As he walked into the assembly hall, dressed in his usual plain clothes, many dismissed him as just another face in the crowd. But when he took the podium, his presence commanded attention. Without raising his voice or resorting to theatrics, he laid out the stakes in stark terms. "If you think I care about your borders, your flags, or your egos, you're wrong," Marcus said, his tone firm but measured. "Right now, we're facing an enemy that sees Earth as nothing more than a target. They don't care which country you come from or what language you speak. To them, we're all the same. And unless we act like it, they'll wipe us out without hesitation." He paused, letting his words sink in before continuing. "You can argue over who gets credit later, if there is a later. Right now, we need unity. Every resource, every soldier, every scientist, we need them all working together. If you won't do it for yourselves, do it for the billions of innocent lives counting on you." His speech silenced the room. Slowly, begrudgingly, the leaders began to agree. Resources were pooled, military forces integrated, and scientific efforts streamlined. The Earth Defense Coalition officially launched, with Marcus appointed as its commander-in-chief. Though he had never sought the position, He accepted it knowing that someone needed to keep everyone focused and accountable. With the coalition in place, humanity embarked on an ambitious campaign to prepare for the next wave of alien attacks. Factories once used to produce cars and appliances now churned out advanced weaponry and defensive gear. Schools introduced new curriculums teaching survival skills, tactical training, and basic engineering principles. Community centers transformed into recruitment hubs where ordinary citizens volunteered to serve in whatever capacity they could. Farmers donated food supplies, tech companies provided communication systems, and artists created propaganda posters urging solidarity and resilience. Chirintsauling, the heart of the effort were the Star Destroyers, which became symbols of hope and defiance. Engineers worked tirelessly to expand the fleet, constructing additional ships based on Marcus's blueprints. Each vessel was named after a city or landmark, forging a connection between the people of Earth and the machines protecting them. Pilots from air forces around the world trained rigorously to operate the ships, learning to navigate their complex systems and wield their devastating firepower. Soldiers adapted quickly to new combat techniques, incorporating lessons learned from Marcus's experience in Sentinel. But perhaps the most remarkable transformation occurred among everyday citizens. People who had once felt powerless suddenly found themselves contributing to the cause in meaningful ways. Neighborhood watch groups formed to monitor suspicious activity, ensuring no alien infiltrators slipped through unnoticed. Families converted basements into shelters stocked with supplies ready to weather any attack. Even children pitched in, organizing fundraisers and awareness campaigns to support the EDC. Marcus traveled extensively during this period, visiting communities across the globe to rally support and address concerns. Everywhere he went, crowds gathered to catch a glimpse of the man who had become a living legend. To them, he represented not just strength but humility, a reminder that heroes could come from unexpected places. Despite his growing fame, Marcus remained grounded, often mingling with locals and sharing stories from his past. He encouraged people to stay hopeful, emphasizing that courage and determination could overcome even the greatest odds. One evening, while touring a small town in Eastern Europe, Marcus met a young boy named Ivan. The child had drawn a picture of a Star Destroyer surrounded by smiling faces, labeling it Earth's Guardians. When Marcus asked why he had chosen that name, Ivan replied simply, "Because you're protecting us." Marcus smiled, ruffling the boy's hair. "Not just me," he corrected gently. "All of us. That's what makes us strong." Back at the Central Command Center, Elena Torres and her team continued to refine the technology powering the Star Destroyers. They discovered new applications for the alien artifacts Marcus had salvaged years ago, integrating them into Earth's defenses in innovative ways. One breakthrough involved developing portable shields capable of protecting entire cities from aerial bombardment. Another project focused on creating cloaking devices to hide key installations from enemy sensors. Each advancement brought humanity closer to leveling the playing field against their extraterrestrial foes. As preparations intensified, Marcus kept a close eye on intelligence reports. The aliens hadn't launched another attack since their initial defeat, but he knew they wouldn't stay away forever. Reconnaissance drones detected increased activity near the edge of the solar system, suggesting the invaders were amassing reinforcements. 6-7's retreat may have bought Earth valuable time, but it also gave the aliens an opportunity to regroup and strategize. To counter this threat, Marcus devised a bold plan. Rather than waiting for the aliens to strike again, he proposed taking the fight to them. Using the Star Destroyer's advanced capabilities, humanity could launch preemptive strikes against alien supply lines and staging areas. The goal wasn't to annihilate the enemy entirely. Such a feat might be impossible, but to weaken their forces and force them into a defensive posture. The idea sparked heated debate within the coalition. Some argued it was too risky, fearing retaliation that could devastate Earth. Others supported the plan, believing it was better to act decisively than wait passively for doom to arrive. In the end, Marcus cast the deciding vote, siding with those in favor of aggression. "If we sit here doing nothing, they'll crush us eventually," he explained. "We have to show them we're not afraid to hit back." Preparations for the offensive began immediately. Pilots underwent intensive simulations, practicing complex maneuvers designed to outmaneuver alien ships. Ground troops rehearsed coordinated assaults, combining traditional warfare tactics with futuristic weaponry. Meanwhile, engineers installed experimental upgrades on the Star Destroyers, enhancing their speed, firepower, and durability. Every detail was scrutinized, every contingency planned for. On the eve of the operation, Marcus addressed the assembled forces one final time. Gathered in a massive hangar bay beneath a towering Star Destroyer, thousands of soldiers listened, intently as he spoke. "Tomorrow, we step onto the battlefield, not just to defend our homes but to secure our future," he said, his voice echoing through the cavernous space. "Remember why we're fighting. Remember who we're fighting. And above all, remember that we stand together as one." Cheers erupted throughout the crowd, filling the air with a sense of purpose and determination. For the first time in history, humanity truly acted as one. Divided no longer by borders or beliefs, they faced the unknown with courage and resolve. As Marcus turned to leave, Elena caught up with him, her expression a mix of admiration and concern. "Do you think we're Rhea?" The clock struck midnight as the Earth Defense Coalition's fleet of Star Destroyers launched into the void of space. Led by Marcus Johnson aboard the flagship Guardian Dawn, humanity embarked on its first offensive against an extraterrestrial enemy. The mission was clear but daunting. Strike deep into the alien armada's supply lines, cripple their reinforcements, and force them onto the defensive. It was a gamble, one that could either save Earth or doom it. But Marcus knew they had no choice. Sitting in the command chair, he stared at the holographic map displaying their trajectory toward the edge of the solar system. His mind raced with possibilities, scenarios, and worst-case outcomes. Yet beneath the weight of responsibility, there was a flicker of hope. For once, humanity wasn't waiting to be attacked. It was taking control of its destiny. As the fleet approached the alien staging area, the tension aboard the ships was palpable. Pilots gripped their controls tightly, soldiers double-checked their gear, and engineers monitored every system for signs of failure. The alien forces were vast, far larger than anything humanity had encountered before. Ships of all shapes and sizes loomed in the distance, forming a blockade that seemed impenetrable. Their glowing engines illuminated the darkness like a swarm of fireflies, each one representing a potential threat. "Commander," called out Lieutenant Sarah Chen, the young officer stationed at Tactical Operations. "We're within range. Should we engage?" Marcus leaned forward, his eyes narrowing as he studied the situation. "Not yet," he replied calmly. "Let's see what they do first." Moments later, the aliens detected the human fleet. A flurry of activity erupted among their ships as they scrambled to respond. Energy beams crackled through the void, probing the Star Destroyer's shields. Marcus ordered his pilots to hold steady, resisting the urge to retaliate immediately. Instead, he activated the cloaking devices installed during the final upgrades. One by one, the Star Destroyers vanished from sight, leaving the alien fleet firing blindly into empty space. "They can't see us," Elena reported from engineering, her voice tinged with excitement. "Shields are holding steady." Marcus nodded, a small smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "Good. Now let's hit them where it hurts." With precise coordination, the Star Destroyers reappeared behind the alien blockade, launching a devastating surprise attack. Plasma cannons fired in unison, targeting key supply ships and communication hubs. Explosions lit up the darkness as alien vessels disintegrated under the onslaught. Chaos spread through the enemy ranks, their carefully organized formation crumbling under the unexpected assault. But the aliens weren't defeated so easily. Regrouping quickly, they unleashed a counterattack that sent shockwaves through the human fleet. Massive energy blasts slammed into the Star Destroyers, testing the limits of their shields. Onboard alarms blared as systems overloaded, forcing engineers to work frantically to stabilize the ships. Despite the damage, Marcus remained focused, issuing commands with unwavering authority. "Focus fire on their command ship," he barked. "If we take out their leader, the rest will fall apart." The crew sprang into action, redirecting weapons, systems toward the largest alien vessel, a monstrous behemoth bristling with turrets and emitters. Its hull shimmered with protective energy fields, making it nearly impervious to conventional attacks. But the Star Destroyers carried experimental EMP weapons designed specifically for such situations. With a single coordinated blast, the human fleet disabled the command ship's shields, leaving it vulnerable. Seizing the opportunity, Marcus gave the order to board the alien vessel. He led a team of elite soldiers clad in advanced combat suits powered by alien technology, salvaged from Antarctica. Disguised as prisoners captured earlier in the battle, Marcus infiltrated the ship alongside his squad. Inside, the air was thick, with tension as they navigated dimly lit corridors filled with panicked alien crew members. Their mission was simple, yet dangerous: sabotage the ship's core reactor and capture its leader. The deeper they went, the more resistance they encountered. Alien soldiers poured out of side passages, armed with weapons far beyond human design. The firefight was intense, with plasma bolts ricocheting off walls and sparks flying from damaged equipment. Marcus moved with precision, his years of training kicking in as he took down enemies with calculated strikes. To anyone watching, he wasn't just a fat black man anymore. He was a warrior, driven by purpose and skill. Finally, they reached the heart of the ship, a massive chamber housing the reactor and surrounded by a ring of guards. At the center stood Zix-7, the alien captain who had underestimated humanity from the start. His translucent green skin glowed faintly in the low light, and his black eyes widened in recognition when he saw Marcus. "You," Zix-7 stammered, pointing a trembling finger. "You're the one leading this rebellion." Marcus stepped forward, his expression cold and resolute. "That's right," he said, his voice cutting through the chaos. "And you're going to tell me everything I need to know about your empire, or you'll die here with your ship." Before Zix-7 could respond, the reactor began to destabilize, its core glowing brighter with each passing second. One of Marcus's engineers had planted explosives earlier, ensuring the ship would self-destruct if necessary. Panic spread among the aliens as alarms screamed throughout the chamber. "Time's up," Marcus growled, grabbing Zix-7 by the arm. "Come with us or stay and burn." Reluctantly, Zix-7 complied, allowing himself to be escorted back to the Star Destroyers. As the team retreated, the command ship exploded in a brilliant flash, sending debris hurtling through space. The remaining alien vessels faltered, their chain of command shattered. Without hesitation, Marcus ordered the fleet to press the advantage, finishing off stragglers and securing the battlefield. Back on Earth, news of the victory spread like wildfire. Cities erupted in celebration as people poured into streets and parks, cheering and waving flags. Social media buzzed with messages of gratitude and admiration for Marcus and the EDC. Humanity had not only survived, it had triumphed against impossible odds. In the aftermath, Marcus addressed the world once more, standing atop the ruins of the fallen alien craft. "This victory belongs to all of us," he declared, his voice echoing across global broadcasts. "Every person who worked, fought, and sacrificed played a part in this moment. But our journey doesn't end here. There are still questions to answer and battles to fight. Together we'll ensure that Earth remains free." As cameras flashed and crowds roared, Marcus felt a sense of peace wash over him. He had spent years carrying the burden of secrets and responsibilities alone. Now, he shared that burden with billions of others, united by a common cause. Humanity had proven it could rise above fear and division to face the unknown and win. In the days that followed, Zix-7 provided valuable intelligence about the alien empire, revealing weaknesses and vulnerabilities that could be exploited in future conflicts. Under Marcus's leadership, the EDC continued to strengthen its defenses, expanding the Star Destroyer fleet and developing new technologies based on alien designs. Schools taught lessons about resilience and unity, while communities rebuilt stronger than ever. For Marcus Johnson, life returned to relative normalcy, but nothing would ever truly be the same. Once dismissed as insignificant, he had become a symbol of strength and determination. The man who had once hidden in plain sight now stood proudly among the stars, ready to protect the planet he loved. And somewhere in the vastness of space, the aliens regrouped, vowing revenge. But for now, humanity had earned a reprieve, a chance, to prepare for whatever came next. Together, they faced the future with courage and hope, knowing that even in the darkest times, they would never stand alone.